Hello, BookTube. I've got some mail for you today on a bright, sunny day. Just a beautiful, beautiful Friday. Lovely. A little bit crisp. A little bit, well, not a little bit. It's actually 45 or 50 degrees colder than I would like it to be. But still, you wouldn't consider it cool outside. You would put a jacket on, and maybe your hands would tingle a little if you were out a little bit. But a beautiful, beautiful day, and a bunch of mail. So let's go through it and see what we can find here. We'll see if there's anything that's of interest to you. Of course, there's one thing that I'm waiting for. There's one item out there that I'm waiting for. I don't know that it'll be in this pile, but let's see. Okay, this looks like a novel. Yeah, this is a novel. This comes out in June. Do you have a sheet? No sheet at all. How interesting. This is by Sarah Brooks, and it is called The Cautious Traveler's Guide to the Wastelands. And there is the cover. It's a train going all the way around the cover like that. Kind of a neat cover there. Well, we don't have a sheet, but we do have a description here. Or do we? We've got blurbs on the back. No, there's a traveler's advisory on the inside cover here. We'll try that instead. Fellow travelers, there's only one way to travel across the wastelands. On the Trans-Siberian Express, a train as famous for its luxury as for its danger. The train is never short of passengers, eager to catch sight of wasteland creatures more miraculous and terrifying than anything they could imagine. But on the train's last journey, something went horribly wrong, though no one seems to remember what exactly happened. Not even Zhang Wei, who has spent her entire life on board and thought she knew all the train's secrets. A little bit of Snowpiercer here? Is this a steampunk Snowpiercer? Now the train is about to embark again with a new set of passengers. Among them are Maria Petrovna, a grieving woman with a borrowed name, Henry Gray, a disgraced naturalist looking for redemption, and Elena, a beguiling stowaway with a powerful connection to the wastelands themselves. Wei Wei knows she should report Elena, but she can't help being drawn to her. As the girls begin a forbidden friendship, there are warning signs that the rules of the wasteland are changing, and the train might once again be imperiled. Can the passengers trust each other as the wilderness outside threatens to consume them all? Well, now I want to know about the wastelands. But I'm not going to know about the wastelands because this comes out in June, so I won't be getting to it anytime soon. I am buried in books, and I like that. That's just fine by me. Let's see what this next one is. I've got the bean right here. She is. She's right next to me. She's very good. Let's see what this next one is. Oh. Okay, good. Great, wonderful. All right, we've already seen this on this channel, but I will gladly show it to you again. This is the finished hardcover of John O'Connor's The Secret History of Bigfoot. From the shrouded forests of the Pacific Northwest to the off-the-wall cryptozoological conventions, one man searches high and low for the answers to the question, real or not, why do we want to believe? Journalist and writer John O'Connor takes readers on a narrative quest through the American wilds in search of Bigfoot, its myth and meaning. Inhabited by an eccentric cast of characters, reputable men of science and deluded charlatans alike, the book explores the zany and secretive world of cryptozoology, tracking Bigfoot from the wild men of Native American and European lore to Harry and the Hendersons, while examining the forces behind our ever-widening belief in the supernatural. Okay, lots of problems already here. The world of cryptozoology is not secretive. And no one thinks that... I shouldn't say no one. The bulk of thinking on Sasquatch, on Bigfoot in North America, is that it's not a supernatural being. It's a kind of animal that it is very secretive and probably very rare and has not been seen by science, I should say. By turns, an ardent philosophical defense of nature, investigation into what Kurt Anderson calls our peculiar American appetite for immersive make-believe, and a gonzo trip into alternative reality, this is the story of our Bigfoot obsession, where it comes from, what it means today, and the people driving it. Okay, all right. Well, real or not, why do we want to believe? But I'm sure that a great many Bigfoot researchers would say it's not a question of wanting to believe. It's a question of wanting to verify something that seems to be leaving lots and lots of circumstantial evidence behind. It's not that I want to believe. I want to know whether or not it's there. I don't. It sounds like it's going to be a Bigfoot book at the expense of Bigfoot people, which would be a shame. Actually, as a finished copy, I'll be able to just look in the table of contents and see if that is true. Let's take a look for some names, shall we? A couple of names that if you're taking the subject seriously, you will have talked to them. Yeah, there's one. Good. Let's see here. Another one? No, we're not in here. Oh, my. Okay. Well, we shall see. This, do I have a date on this? February 6th. This is out already. This is out already. That's great. I will, now that I have the finished copy, now that I have, a physical book in hand to ping things off, I will write up a review of this thing right away. I'll read it, reread. I read a chunk of it as an ebook, but I'll give it a finalized go-over and write a review, because whose review of this book are you going to want more than mine? Who are you going to want a review of more than mine? Actually, where is it going to be reviewed? It might, if it got a review in a major mainstream press, it would be a review of look how crazy these people are. But the thing about a lot of Bigfoot eyewitnesses and about a lot of Bigfoot researchers is that they aren't crazy. It's the first thing you notice about them, is that they're not crazy. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll come to a final conclusion on it, and I will let you know. Then this next one, we have one of these big asbestos envelopes. Let's hope we can do this neatly so it doesn't make a mess. Oh, it's big, whatever it is. What are you? Oh, okay. It's this way because this is these are unbound galleys. This is just, someone took the pages of the galley and ran them off at a Kinko's or a copy shop of some kind. Okay, great. All right. So you've got something like this that I'm told, I have not checked myself, but I'm told that even these are collectible. But I get these sometimes, and down the line I will get the galley copy, and then I'll get a finished copy. So this is David Rohl, and this is Ascent to Power: How Truman Emerged from Roosevelt's Shadows and Remade the World. That is cover copy. That it will certainly look like this. And this is from the author of a biography of George Marshall. I'm going to have to learn a lot about George Marshall that I don't want to know. Just a stone-eyed psychopath. I'm going to have to learn all about him. There's an ambitious new book about young George Marshall. He was a young stone-eyed psychopath that I think is going to get widely reviewed. I definitely want it. I definitely want a piece of it. It's going to require that I get to know more about Marshall than I really want to know. But the problem with Bound Galley is that this probably won't have anything in the way of publicity content of any kind. Now it doesn't have anything. There's nothing here at all. It's just the pages. That's all. Let's read a little bit of the prologue. On the morning of July 9th, 1944, a muggy Sunday in wartime Washington, the Hudson Valley patrician and so-called common man from Missouri were getting ready for their respective road trips. Outside the White House, a 4-man Secret Service detail was waiting for President Franklin Roosevelt to be wheeled out and assisted into the back seat of an armored Lincoln limousine. In his apartment on the corner of Connecticut Avenue and Chesapeake Street, the building today that is called the Truman House, Senator Harry Truman was finishing a letter to his 20-year-old daughter, Margaret. He was about to drive alone to St. Louis and then to his home in Independence in his dove-gray Chrysler Coupe, one of the last civilian autos produced before the Pearl Harbor attack and the conversion to tanks and warplanes. Okay, well, this will be the end of Roosevelt's administration and Truman taking power when Roosevelt died. A subject that has been covered widely by many, many books, but I'm always up for a new one. We'll see what it does, see what new angles it takes, maybe. Let's see here. Let's see what this next one is. Okay, great. This is a finished copy of something that we've seen already. I have read this. This comes out in late March. But I read it. I thought I would just start it and get a sense for it, get a sense of maybe who would like to read it, what person I might send it to or whatnot. And I was hooked. It's a long book, but I was hooked. And so I read the whole thing, and I very strongly recommend it, even though it's contemporary fiction. I have my reservations about it, but I really liked it. This is by Natasha Pulley, and it is called The Mars House. And this is the finished copy. So let's learn a little bit more about this in case you don't remember this when we got the advance copy. Uh, uh, okay. In the wake of an environmental catastrophe, January, once a principal in London's Royal Ballet, has become a refugee in Tharsis, the terraformed colony on Mars, where gender is abolished and woolly mammoths walk and talk, but humans still struggle with the basics of how to treat one another. January's prospects are dictated by his second-class status as an Earth-stronger, a person whose body is not adjusted to low gravity and so poses a danger to those born on Mars. Mars has a much lower gravity than Earth, and it's not as romantic as John Carter. The Earth-strong people have to be put in cages. They're not stationary cages. Their bodies have to be caged. Arms, legs, torsos, in heavy-duty wire that is specifically conditioned to stop them from pulling people's arms off by accident, achieving escape velocity when they go for a run or a jump or something like that. And it's really well done. The woolly mammoths are also really, really well done. I needed the woolly mammoths to be well done. I really needed them to be, because of Tusks of Extinction, which was a novel about bringing woolly mammoths back from extinction. The woolly mammoths in this book are wonderful. But anyway, where did we end off? Oh, right. And a xenophobic politician named Aubrey Gale is running on a platform that would make it all the worse. Gale wants all Earthstrongers to naturalize, a process that is disabling and can be deadly. Not naturalize in terms of getting their papers, but naturalize in terms of changing their bodies so that they're equipped for Mars' lower gravity. When Gale chooses January for an on-the-spot press junket interview that goes horribly awry, the encounter lands January in jail and endangers Gale's political future. To make up for the damage, Gale proposes a fake marriage, a media image rehabilitation for both of them. January soon discovers that Gale is much more difficult to hate than at first glance. As their romantic relationship develops, the political situation worsens, and January discovers Gale has an enemy, someone willing to destroy all of Tharsis to make them pay. And January may be the only person standing in the way. And from that description, what was the line? I know that a lot of you caught it, and I certainly did when we read about this the first time. A terraformed colony on Mars where gender is abolished. The minute I read that, I thought, okay, I know what I'm in for here. But if the author intended this book to be a woke scold, intended to call me Satan, I'm afraid she's just too good a writer, because I was enraptured. If the main purpose of this book is religious zealotry, if the main purpose of this book was to vilify me personally, it failed. I was swept up in the story. Just loved it. I think you would love it too. This is the kind of thing where I don't know how much new stuff you read, but if you read contemporary fiction, for instance, God, I don't know how some of I have two friends who do contemporary fiction only. I don't know how they do it. If you read this stuff, you quickly get a feel for how similar it is, unless you're a dyed-in-the-wool cheerleader, right? If you're somebody like Jack Edwards, you just are going to cheerlead this stuff, no matter what. You're going to say it's different from X, Y, or Z, not worse. You're not going to point out any of its enormous flaws because you want to be hosting at BAFTA. That's what you want. And that's not going to go to a critic. That's going to go to a cheerleader. But if you're that's just an ordinary person. I don't know. Maybe Jack Edwards is not an ordinary person. If you're just an ordinary person and you read lots of contemporary fiction, you're going to start to notice. I feel certain that it's not just me being cynical when I say you're going to start to notice how poor a lot of it is. How just flatly or blandly or childishly written it is. This is not that at all. So very happy to have a finished copy. That's wonderful. Let's see here. Let's move on. We'll just keep going. We have a couple of boxes at the end of this, but I've already got the Bigfoot book, so that's fantastic. Let's clean our stuff up here. Here we go. Okay. All right. Well, we saw this as before also. This is all in the mail, yes? Yeah. Oh, one key difference. Okay. Well, this is a now posthumous collection. This is Joan Acocella. This is The Bloody Nightgown and Other Essays. Acocella is a famous New Yorker person who never quite knew what she was going to write about, and she just recently died. Didn't live to see her book get reviewed. Probably a book reviewer's ultimate nightmare. She did not live to see her book reviewed. I'm sure she saw it in galleys. But she doesn't know what this is going to do. She doesn't know what critics are going to do with this. Of course, they're all going to love it. She's great. And even if they weren't inclined to sing its praises, they're still going to wax rhapsodic about it because she's not here anymore. That's so weird. That is so weird. Had I been her editor at the New Yorker, I would have given her this book to write about without hesitation. Oh, what a marvel we would have got. She would have done it, and what a marvel that would have been. But let's see here. She had the rare ability to examine literature and unearth the lives it contained within it, its authors, its subjects, and its communities from which it springs. In her hands, art criticism was a celebration and an investigation, and her essays pulse with unadulterated enthusiasm. As Catherine Harrison wrote in the New York Times Book Review, hers is a vision that allows art its mystery but not its pretensions, to which she is acutely sensitive. What better instincts could a critic have? In this book gathers 24 essays from the final decade and a half of her career, as well as an introduction that frames her simple preoccupations, life and art. I used to have equally simple preoccupations. Friends of mine made a ditty of it, Beagles, Books, and Burgundy. In agile, inspired prose, she moves from J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of Beowulf to the life of Richard Pryor, from surveying profanity to untangling the Book of Job. Her appetite and reading list knew no bounds. She's our dream companion among the library shelves. Okay, well, this is a February release. Yeah, this comes out on the 20th. I'm glad to have the finished copy. That's wonderful. I will be writing about it. I think I'll be writing about everything we've seen so far. Okay, then we're at the boxes. One box is little, one box is big. But the big box, I do not think, is the tea that I'm looking for, the thing that I'm looking for. I don't think it's big enough to be what I'm looking for. So probably it's a collection of stuff. But we'll do the first box. Okay. All right. I don't know how to say this author's name. Reuven? It must be Reuven. Reuven Fenton is the author, and this is a novel called Goyhood. Look at the little yarmulke here. Let's see here. So what do we got here? Do we have a date on this? Okay, this comes out in May, late May, almost June. Funny, poignant, and revelatory while plumbing the emotional depths of the relationship between estranged brothers. This debut, it's a debut. Goyhood is a debut. That's not a bad cover. Examines what happens when one becomes unmoored from a comfortable spiritual existence and must decide whether a coincidence is in fact destiny. When Mayor, that is Marty Belkin, fled small-town Georgia for Brooklyn nearly 30 years ago, he thought he'd left his wasted youth behind. Now he's a Talmud scholar, married into one of the greatest rabbinical families in the world, a dirt-poor country boy reinvented in the image of God. But his mother's untimely death brings a shocking revelation. Meyer and his ne'er-do-well twin brother David aren't, in fact, Jewish. I hate it when that happens. Traumatized and spiritually bereft, Meyer's only recourse is to convert to Judaism. But the earliest date he can get is a week from now. What are two estranged brothers to do in the interim? I'm in love already. Let's go on here. So begins the Belkins' Rumspringa through America's deep south, with Mom's ashes in tow, plus 2 tagalongs, an insightful Instagram influencer named Charlene Valentine, and Popeye, a one-eyed dog. As the crew gets tangled up in a series of increasingly surreal adventures, Meyer grapples with a god who betrayed him and an emotionally withdrawn wife in Brooklyn who has yet to learn her husband is a counterfeit Jew. Okay, well, I don't think that you need much more incentive to pre-order this thing. I certainly, I'm going to have to wait to read this. It comes out at the end of May. There's no way. It sounds irresistible, but I can't justify reading it now. Oh, look at this. Well, you can't look at it because I'm looking at it. But this is an indie book, right? This is Central Avenue is the publisher, but I think that's probably indie. Boy, if they could all be this good. This actually has a list. I don't know who's going to be able to make this out. It has a list of why to buy. I'm assuming that won't be on the finished copy. A hilariously touching coming-of-age and middle-aged debut exploring faith and family. So Reuven Fenton is. Oh, we have a picture of him. Well, you don't look middle-aged. Then again, from my perspective, everybody looks young. An established journalist with strong ties to the literary community. Blurbs from a dozen Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times best-selling and well-known authors. Okay. Who are those blurbs? I would like to know. Oh, Ellie Lippman blurbs it, and Joshua Cohen. Oh my God! All right, so Joshua Cohen, the author of the Netanyahu's, now he's in the stratosphere. He blurbs this, but also Eleanor Lippman, who's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and whose blurbs are not tossed off. She means them. She's the real deal. How wonderful. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to be everywhere. There are going to be all sorts of ad campaigns. I wonder if the author would talk to me. There's going to be an author tour in the New York area. Of course, I don't think they'll be going to Georgia. There's no sense in suffering for your art. Okay, great. And also a pitch to the Jewish Book Council. I'm not 100% sure how they would take this from the description that we've heard. Well, fantastic. This is just great. Okay, Goyhood. So, there you go. That comes out in late May. Definitely note it down. Get your library to get it or pre-order it. I'm sure, since the author is, I think, probably indie. I don't 100% know, but this is going to be a $28 hardcover. I'm pretty sure the author would appreciate it if you would just buy it rather than get it from the library, but that's wonderful. I'm going to have to reach out. I can't remember if this author contacted me or not. I'm going to have to reach out and see if maybe he wants to talk about this in May. That would be great. I always make a point. I always say on this channel that I want to do more with indie authors, small house authors. Get them in front of your notice. Maybe talk with them in front of you. Get them. That's the one thing, as you know, a lot of you are self-published authors. It's the one thing that the one shortcoming of the indie world as opposed to the mainstream world. The mainstream world will do a lot of that for you. They'll book you at Politics and Prose. They'll get you a partisan review interview or something like that, and they'll make sure that your book is visible. Whereas if you're indie, you have to do all that yourself, and I'd love to help. Anyway, so that's all right. So that's Goyhood. Now we'll move on to this little box here to finish things up. I can think, if this is a number of books, I can think of what I would like it to be. If it's, I don't think it's the T that I'm looking for. So instead, what I'd like it to be is maybe a new selection of Loeb Classical Library Edition. Something like that would be really nice. What have we got here? To quote Star Trek, I appear to have miscalculated. It is the other T that I was waiting for. Okay, sorry, that last squeak was supersonic. It's Tolkien. It's this new box set of Tolkien. It's the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, and both books of Lost Tales. This is, in fact, the whole of the Legendarium. I've never been a fan of extending the Legendarium to children's poems or even the letters. I know that a lot of Tolkien fans would see no problem in that. But as far as I'm concerned, in his letters, Tolkien is just another reader of his books. What's that? What is that? Huh? Oh. Okay. This box set of Tolkien just received what I assume is the only Schnauzer kiss it's ever going to get. Oh. There are the Doors of Night with the Ship of Elendil. Huh? Look at this. How incredible. There's Gondolin in its secret location. How amazing. Look at that. There's Ulmo appearing, one of the only times that any of the Valar ever appear to an individual person in the world. How incredible! So you have this. This is nicely styled there, and this is a box set here. Let's take a look at some of these. Sorry, it's a snug box set. Somewhere Mark Richardson is cringing, hoping that I don't just destroy all of these. Oh man! Oh, how incredible! Okay, so you get the Book of Lost Tales, Part 2. You get the Book of Lost Tales, Part 1, where Gondolin is about to fall. The Tolkien estate also authorized The Fall of Gondolin, a little book on its own. You get the unfinished tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. These all have maps in them. There you get Numenor. No inset cloth bookmarks, but you do get all the critical apparatus, all the underlying stuff. And the end papers are also maps of Middle-earth itself. And the covers are just the illustrations. There's nothing else on them. They just go in the box set. And then the Silmarillion. This lovely edition. Look at that. Just look at how lovely that is. See that? There are the forces of darkness encroaching on Gondolin. How incredible. Just incredible. So this will have... all right. So these are different. These are different than, for instance, the individual standalone books. This is, for instance, there was an illustrated Silmarillion, a year ago? Maybe 2 years ago, that had illustrations. It was a standalone thing. It did have a cloth bookmark, and it did have illustrations. This does not have that. These don't have that. They are just a box on their own. Oh, look at that. Look at the inside. Here is the repurposed cover. Can you see that? You make that out? So the illustrations are on the other side of that, but that is the inside of the cover. I don't think I've ever seen a book with printing on both sides of the cover. Usually I opened it, I pulled it out because I was thinking that the naked hardcover would have illustrations, but it does not. Instead, it's both sides of the hardcover. I guess you could invert it then. Is that the reason why you would do that? To invert it? Maybe to protect the artwork? Oh, fantastic. All right, well, if Mark is watching, he should probably avert his eyes because I'm going to try to put these things back in here. It would really be quintessential Steve if I destroyed this whole box set the very video that I open it. Oh, my. All right, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Careful now. Careful. Don't force it. Oh. All right, well, so I have my two T's. I got Taft and I got Tolkien. So I am absolutely all set. And it's Friday, so I don't think the week has any room left in it for Tolstoy or Trajan. So I'm gonna be completely satisfied with this. Oh my God. This came out on the 6th. This came out on Tuesday of this week. So it is available in your bookstores. Depending on what your retail bookstore is like, it might not be there yet. Or it might be behind the cash register, or someplace where a customer can't just get at it and open it and start pulling the books out and maybe putting a bad job putting them back, or steal it. Or it'll be available for them to order. And available for you to order online. This is available now. And this is the whole of the Legendarium. The Legendarium proper. So not the letters, not any kind of, Tales of Tom Bombadil or anything like that, not stray details anywhere, but rather outside of the Lord of the Rings, this is everything. This is the whole undergirding world, contradictions and all, of Tolkien's Legendarium. This is worth reading through from start to finish. I want to write about this. I want to write about almost everything I got today. But the problem is the competing T's, because I'm still unbelievably ensconced in those two Taft volumes of the Taft Court. I'm still unbelievably ensconced in them. They are brilliant, just brilliant. And yet, they're brilliant on a subject in a niche where I don't think there are 10 people in the country who are going to see what a feast they are. This will have wider appeal. I believe that I'm not going out on a limb to say that the Legendarium of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings has a wider appeal than the rulings of the Taft Court. But I haven't read the Book of Lost Tales and the Book of Lost Tales Book 2. I haven't read those in forever. What a treat it would be to read them in this format, in this box set. So that's the mail. Not a bad mail day. I did indeed get my second T. This is the latest box set from Tolkien, all the Legendarium. That isn't The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Then we have Goyhood by Reuven Fenton, his debut. We have The Bloody Nightgown by Jonah Cacella, great essayist, much missed. We have The Mars House by Natasha Pulley, which may very well be engaged in blue checkmark misandry and, all that sort of stuff, all the usual stuff, hating all the usual suspects. But I'm sorry, if the author is a crusader, I'm sorry to disappoint her. She's too good a writer. She's just too good a writer. It's enthralling. Then we have Ascent to Power. I'm not going to put this in the list because it's a floppy thing here. But this is FDR history, which is always interesting to read. We have The Secret History of Bigfoot. I swear, Tolkien and Bigfoot. It's just incredible. And The Cautious Traveler's Guide to the Wastelands by Sarah Brooks. So all of these plus the Roosevelt book. Pretty good. Pretty good as a mail haul. I'm going to go and stare lovingly at this Tolkien setup, but I will return. Thank you, BookTube.